Hey everyone, it's Carrie here. So, have you ever felt like you're going through money struggles? Or do you ever feel like you find yourself saying, I need to figure out a way to make more money? Or do you ever wonder whether you actually can make more money? Well, if so, I have got something really exciting today because we are joined by Kate Northrup, who is the author of Money, A Love Story. And she is going to be sharing her steps and strategies on how to actually get out of financial struggles and live a life with financial abundance. So Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So first off, congratulations on the book because it is incredible and I have heard so many people raving about this and all the reviews online and the comments are just incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I think the thing that I love most about this book is that it's not your typical book on money. It's really inspiring and really practical. But then I also feel like I am being coached virtually through this book by you because you get the reader to go through and answer so many questions so they can help create their own money story. So it's just amazing. It's such a powerful book and I absolutely love it. So obviously today you're going to be sharing some of your steps about how to actually live a life with financial abundance. And obviously this is so important in life in general, but I think it's even more important for entrepreneurs because we rely on ourselves to generate our own income. So when you reach a period where it's not really flowing properly with money, it can be so stressful. And I think the other thing is that a lot of people start up in business and then find that they get themselves into debt. And then it's just a financial struggle. And obviously in this book you talk about a little bit about your story, about how you ended up in $20,000 of debt. So I thought it'd be amazing to just kind of start there and maybe if you could share your story about what happened and how it happened and how you then got yourself out of it.
Sure. So I started a business when I was 18 in the direct sales industry with a nutrition company called USANA, and I still have that business. And it was doing really well. I built my business during my Christmas vacations and college vacations during college. And when I graduated from college, I moved to New York City and I had enough income coming in from my business that I didn't have to get a job. But the big difference was when I was in college, my general living expenses were paid for. And when I moved to New York City, I had enough to pay that same level, but it's so much more expensive. And I stopped paying. I never really actually paid attention to what I made versus what I spent because my expenses were so low, it didn't matter. But I didn't pay attention. And so, I mean, it really, even though I know it wasn't suddenly I was in $20,000 worth of debt, that's how it felt. It felt like I woke up one day and I was like, how did that happen? You know, it was just 1 month I didn't pay off the balance. And then suddenly it became month after month after month. And I was really, I felt quite stuck. And despite, I was also in a lot of avoidance, and this is really common when we are having judgment about the way we're spending our money, or when we're scared that we're not going to be able to make ends meet. Sometimes people will just avoid looking at it altogether, which is exactly how I got into all of that debt. And I didn't know how bad it was until I sat down and added up all the numbers. But what was cool, and so anybody listening, if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I am that person and I'm in debt and I'm in a fog and I don't even know how much debt it is because I'm not opening my bills, which is how I was putting them in a drawer. What you can do is take some time, block out an afternoon and write down everything you spend, everything you earn, and how much you owe and to whom and by when and what the APR rate is. I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but the whatever interest rate. Yep. And I have to tell you, when I did that, it was incredibly freeing. To know the truth is so freeing. And my mentor, Barbara Stanny, who wrote a fabulous book about money called Overcoming Under-Earning, says clarity is power. So I got that clarity. I actually started working with Barbara, and I really wasn't making a whole lot of progress. So I knew I had the debt, and I was making just a little bit more than the minimum payments. But I just was beating myself up a lot about it, and I couldn't break my bad habits of spending more than I made. And so, and paying attention to my money and budgeting and all that stuff felt very restrictive and felt very limiting and like deprivation. And so I just didn't do it. I was just like, I want to live in abundance, so I'm just going to spend whatever I want, which really is not abundance.
Yeah.
You know, it really was keeping me stuck. And so it was when I realized and I connected, if I can treat my financial life as part of my self-care and part of my self-love routine or practice, maybe I can actually make some headway here, as opposed to seeing it as this whole separate thing that I just didn't want to deal with. So I began incorporating it in, and every time I checked my bank account balance, I would give some gratitude. And when I would do my numbers and look at my spreadsheets, I would put on nice music and make it like a date with myself and my money. And then I really did some serious work around my own value and reorganizing my life in accordance with valuing myself, as opposed to putting myself always second, which is what I had done. And I know that that's very common for women. And once I did those practices, within a few months, I had paid off all of the debt and doubled my income and doubled my savings. And so when I made those shifts, things changed fast. And that's what I want people to hear. This does not have to take years. It doesn't have to, you can have that quantum shift.
Yeah, I think that's amazing about hearing that about your story, that you can make progress quickly. And obviously, like you said, I think so many people get themselves into that situation where they're just burying their head in the sand with regards to their money. I mean, I know that I've done it before, and you get the bill through and the bank statement through, and you literally just don't dare open it. So, but what are the other struggles that you have seen and that cause people to kind of get themselves into this situation where their finance isn't as they want it to be?
Well, one of the things, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, largely, I'm just going to stereotype for a second, largely in the health and wellness and healing arts or the coaching world, anyone who's out there to help people, which really is anybody in business, but there's like this specific category, oftentimes, especially women, really have trouble charging people. They think, oh, well, if I'm helping them, I shouldn't be paid, which I don't know where that comes from. I think it's ridiculous, because if we're out there being of service and we're not being nourished financially and energetically and spiritually and emotionally, we're not going to be able to continue to be of service. And so part of being in service is being in that flow and being able to receive in accordance to the value that you're putting out in the world. And that's all that money is. It's just a stand-in for what we value. And so if you also, as an entrepreneur, if you want your clients to take you more seriously and to take the work they're doing with you more seriously and to get more value out of it, you have to charge them, because we value what we pay for. And a real practical example, I'm doing this cleanse thing called the Whole30. It's not really a cleanse, it's just a specific thing. And it's from this book called It Starts With Food. And I went to their website and signed up for a 30-day email sequence that you get during the 30-day program. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So you get an email every day, but they charge $14.95 for it US, which I think is brilliant business. I'm all about it. You know, $14.95 is not a lot of money, but I read the email every day. And if it was free, I know I would have deleted them. And so it's amazing to see that. And I'm getting so much more value and knowledge out of it because I paid for it. So that's one of the things, is like, you got to charge, yes, because it's good for you. But for those of you who are helpers, you have to remember that it's good for your client to charge them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think that's so true. And I think definitely within that area, there seems to be a lot of struggle with actually feeling they can charge for something that where you're just helping people.
Yeah.
So obviously, for all the people out there who are feeling like they're in a struggle financially and who really want to turn it around and start to get their money story on track and start living a life of financial abundance, what steps can people start taking right now to help get them there?
Great. So number one, I already said it, like, get a snapshot of where you're at. And it will be scary to do, and then it'll feel really good. So you just have to go over that hump of scary, and I promise it'll feel good afterwards. So get that clear picture. It's like when you type in where you're going into a GPS system, it can't determine the route to get there unless it knows your current location. So it's just to get your current location so that you can get where you're going. That's it. You don't have to do it with judgment. You don't have to beat yourself up. It's just like, okay, this is just the reality of where I'm at. And it does help if you have any shame around it, which I really did. I had a lot of shame around my debt and I hadn't told anybody. I told one day, I added it all up and then I told my mom, and because I know she's going to love me regardless. And it was so freeing just to say the truth to somebody else. So that can be a great step too. And then I recommend, if you're really just starting out like me, just to check your bank account balance every day. And every morning, I have an alarm on my Google Calendar, and it pops up at 8:30 in the morning, and it says check bank balance. And I go in there and I look at what I have, and I give a little gratitude, and I visit it, and I say, hello, money. Thank you so much for being there. And some days when I started this practice, the number wasn't as high as I would have liked. And as an entrepreneur, things fluctuate. There are moments of flow, and there are moments where it's a little tight. And that's just the reality of being a business owner. It doesn't mean you've been bad. It doesn't mean you screwed up. It's just that sometimes like projects happen and there's an influx, and then sometimes there's a time of more contraction and investing in your business, and that's okay. But if there are days when the balance is a little bit lower, or even in my case, I was going into overdraft a lot, so sometimes that balance was negative back in the day, I would spend that time giving gratitude for the ways my life was abundant, even though the money wasn't there, because abundance is a lot bigger than just the number in our bank account. It's our friends, it's our family, it's our health, it's beauty in our surroundings, it's a sense of peace and calm, and you have access to that all day, every day, no matter what's going on in your bank account. And the best way to cultivate abundance in your life is to notice the way it's already abundant, because that will help it grow.
Yeah, definitely. I am a big believer in gratitude, and I feel like if you're in a state of gratitude, it's hard for you to have that feeling of unhappiness towards other things in your life when you're focusing on what you are grateful for.
Totally.
So that is an amazing step that people can take. I was also reading through here, and you've got some other things I love, and like when you hear about changing your view, about how when you change, when you change it, it changes your reality. And I just think like changing your perception, just massive in everything, but as with money as well, changing your perception. And then you put something else in here, which is one of my favorites. It's you're talking about attracting what you want, and you started talking about the when you focus on like a positive thought and a feel-good thought for 17 seconds from Abraham Hicks. And I love it because it's easy to kind of, sometimes it can be tough when you are feeling really low, but if you can try and put yourself in that place of trying to feel good about something for just 17 seconds, it makes such a difference. And I love that the book is obviously packed full of all these different steps that people can take. But thank you so much for sharing those with us. I think it's just, it's such a massive topic, especially for entrepreneurs. So I think that everyone needs to kind of get their money story right and make it into a love story. So I would definitely go and buy this. It's definitely, you'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would love to hear what you think. Have you ever been through any financial struggles? And if so, how did you get through it? What helped you? I'd love to hear your comments. Head over to femaleentrepreneurassociation.com and leave a comment. And also I'll put all the links to the book over on there too, so you can find out more about this. But thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
See you all next time.